nombre es Felipa Sánchez Antonio. Soy de México, Veracruz.
My name is Carlos Lopez Sanchez.
Alexi Lopez Sanchez.
I'm originally from Mexico City.
Originally from here, from Washington State.
The pandemic affected all of us. Like, my brothers couldn't go to school, so I had to start taking care of them, and I was babysitting them the whole time basically. And then my mom, she had to work extra because the jobs that she was working at before, they started paying less because of what's going on, and then she fell behind on some rent and stuff. And I could see her struggling, and now that I can work now, I'm happy because I know I can help out, even if it's just a little bit.
El shadow jebane rashne el shadow hono kazata en nekede kanguzura porque am shata kala nalka ganji ertena ni renta erkira genera kalanguzura porque fue de COVID-19. Entonces, en que de kanguzura porque tan mun tan oro nana zo hohona.
Our community, and everybody knows this, they need to work 3 or 4 times harder than everyone else to achieve those small dreams. What's going to happen now? Now, our community and their families and the new generation are going to have to work 6, 7, 8 times harder to get out of this hole that this pandemic has brought us. This new generation of children, they were robbed by this pandemic. My name is Carlos Jimenez, Director of Policy and Community Services.
My name is Angie Hinojos, and I'm the co-founder and executive director of Centro Cultural Mexicano. When the pandemic first hit, there was initially a lot of confusion within our community because there was a lot of mixed messaging from the authorities about how to stay safe, what should we do, should we wear masks, not wear masks. And then as the pandemic progressed, we noticed that testing sites were not in the areas where our community is. So it was very, very difficult to find out if you had COVID or not because you would have to drive very, very far. And when you're working, it's difficult. Every hour is $1 lost that you take off work, and it impacts the family greatly. We saw with the vaccine phasing plan that Latinos were left out. We were just left out. The phasing plan focused on those over aged 50, but Latinos skew younger in this country, and most deaths nationally, the highest number of deaths were in the Latino community under age 50. We're Latinos.
Mi nombre es Juan Carlos Cadena. Originalmente soy de México, la ciudad es Reynosa, Tamaulipas, y llegué al estado de Washington, al condado King precisamente, en 1988. Soy músico desde los 21 años. Esa es mi profesión principal. Ahorita pues se trabaja en lo que se puede. Tengo un trío que he trabajado para la comunidad por más de 30 años aquí en el área de Washington. Bastante exitoso. Estábamos trabajando con mucho trabajo, muchas fiestas. Todo iba a la perfección antes de la pandemia. Después de la pandemia, cuando empezó la pandemia, el negocio de un 100% se me fue a un 15% y de repente a 0%. Paramos funciones en febrero del año pasado y a la fecha apenas hemos tenido eventualmente uno que otro trabajo musical.
My name is Miriam Padilla. I was born in Mexico City. And I came to the United States when I was 5 years old, and I've lived in King County since 1997. Actually, right before it hit the pandemic, I had gone through a surgery, so I was home, not being able to move, and then the pandemic hits. We didn't really know what was going on. My kids, they were scared. My kids were scared because my health, it was hard. It was hard because I have 6 kids from ages 1 to 17. Nobody had idea what we were doing. My 16-year-old was really confused, on on what's going on, what's going to happen. You know, he's in high school and he's an IEP student. And the next thing you know, he's at home not knowing what to do. He did fall behind in high school. He lost a couple credits because, you know, we just couldn't figure it out. It was really hard. And then having a 1-year-old at home, you know, I lost my job. My 16-year-old is the one that suffered the most. It was hard for him to adapt to being at home with all his siblings, helping me and trying to get school done.
Cuando ya parecía que todo se iba a normalizar, que fue el año, en diciembre del año pasado, pues recibí la llamada de ese compañero que era el que hacía el bajo, el bass en el trío, que tengo ya muchos años. Me comunicó que estaba enfermo de COVID. Yo estaba en México en ese momento para visitar a mi padre. Desde octubre él empezó a batallar mucho y su familia, principalmente él era el sostén de su familia. Cuando ya me doy cuenta en diciembre, me vuelve a llamar ya desde el hospital. Me mandó un texto con una foto de él ya entubado, bueno, solamente con el que va aquí en la nariz. Y me dice que no iba a salir del hospital. Pero él fallece en enero de este año, del 21. A mí me afectó enormemente, psicológicamente me caí, me deprimí, no trabajé en la música en los siguientes meses, por más de 5 meses hasta la fecha, no me he podido recuperar. Sí pasamos varios momentos de ese tipo de desesperanza, de estar tristes, ir a un evento, cantar, alegrar el momento y no poder mostrarse triste ante la cara de los demás, porque la gente no espera verlo a uno triste. Cantando, alegres, como la cara del payaso, ¿no? Riéndonos, pero por dentro sufriendo la pérdida de compañeros, de familiares.
The pandemic affected my school, cause I had to just focus on online school instead. I couldn't go back to school, and anything that I had, if I had some questions about my homework or any tests that were upcoming, it was hard to ask, because then she would just tell me, but she wouldn't explain me how she used to before. So it was harder. Since all of my brothers were using the internet at the same time, this internet was really slow, so we couldn't load up pages, and it was just really hard.
Look at what's happening with college enrollment now. We were at a place where Latinos were just kind of getting to a place where we were in college, and we were, we had a certain percentage in, and things were looking a little better. And with this pandemic, the college enrollment has been down 20% for Latinos. These are not things we're going to bounce back from one year to the next. It's a cascading effect.
I'm going to be really honest, schools were not very helpful. I would email the counselor, and I would not hear from her. He wouldn't hear from her either. And it's not going to work like that. And that's when I realized, I don't care if there's a pandemic. I don't care if there's no help out there. I got to stand up for my kids. She literally was dropping my son out of school because he was struggling. And I said, no, you're not doing that.
Mi nombre es Mónica Trujillo. Soy de Guadalajara, Jalisco. Y tengo en el condado de King viviendo 25 años. Tengo un negocio pequeño de limpieza de casas. Cuando inició la pandemia, pues no sabíamos qué era lo que estaba pasando en realidad. Fuimos aprendiendo poco a poco lo que estaba pasando y definitivamente los planes cambiaron porque nos quedamos sin trabajo. Sabíamos que teníamos que quedarnos en casa. Pues claro, pudimos pasar un poco tiempo más en familia, pero no fue lo mismo porque al estar sin trabajo teníamos la preocupación de cómo íbamos a pagar la comida y todo lo demás. Entonces definitivamente trajo estrés en nuestra casa y pues un poco de desesperación, ¿no? Igual como yo, habíamos muchos que estábamos en la situación, entonces mucha gente necesitaba ayuda y al acudir a agencias que estaban dando ayuda era larga espera. Una de las cosas que pudimos hacer es recurrir a la comunidad que estaba ayudando y ellos daban despensas y cosas así. Alguna gente me donó anónimamente dinero, no sé ni cómo se enteraron de mi situación. Tiempo de pandemia nos dimos cuenta que la comunidad está ahí para apoyarse a unos a los otros y nosotros fuimos testigos de eso porque nuestra comunidad fue la que nos ayudó más que nada en estos tiempos. Pero una de las cosas que todavía estamos con la necesidad es la renta.
Nunca yo lo demostré a mis hijos que estábamos sufriendo o que yo estaba sufriendo, esperanzada de dónde iba yo a ganar dinero para pagar la renta, ¿verdad? Entonces tuve que hacer fuerte delante de mis hijos. Nunca lo demostré que estaba yo batallando demasiado, donde yo sabía sola nomás.
My mom is like single and like she has to work like twice as hard as a normal family would. If I could, I would probably help out my mom and like just financially, just so she gets like some weight off her shoulders because she's born, so she doesn't have to worry about like having to pay rent and like or like some bills like medical bills or anything like that. I would like help her out in some of those if I could.
To help like pay for the rent and stuff, but I can't work right now because I'm still too young.
Cortarle por lenca anar fuaner me ko fo subendatan porque edatam ne tara paisla ala shakera etara paisla edatam ne etara paisla kurmer ko fo ne ko fo subenne zatan subene ke ayuda kume ko fo como algo ne ko fo que shakera ne asha apoyo, asha ayuda para que yo na país la ala el naña hena país que corne shafo que asha que amne yo na país la que ana shion que na ala ne naña na país que kursa erure emergena sharure emergena que ana hamne yo na país la.
My name is Melissa Avila. My parents are originally from Guadalajara, Jalisco, and I was born here in King County. I am the middle child of 2 brothers. I had to stop going to school in person at the 2nd semester of my junior year, so the rest of my junior year and senior year were online. It was very overwhelming at first, and I was not used to being at home with everyone at once. I would say that it was a little stressful seeing that my parents couldn't work and how we could pay for our rent and our food every day and all of the other utilities. I have been going to therapy for about 2.5 years. I was diagnosed with general anxiety and mild depression before. During the pandemic, my therapist told me that she could not work as a therapist anymore and it was no longer financially stable for her, and she wasn't able to continue with our sessions. So that's when I did stop therapy, and it was hard initially. After a while of not being with therapy and not being with that support, it was really difficult.
One part that COVID brought to us, we were able to expose the needs of our community. The Latino community has different needs than everybody else, nevertheless, in East King County. And you start thinking, what's gonna happen to my community?
I gotta do something for my kids, and I kind of did it on my own. I did crush a lot of times because it wasn't easy. I didn't have a job. I literally had to get into all the federal programs that there is out there. That was devastating for me. And there was no help. Honestly, I felt I had no support whatsoever from anyone. Not even social workers, school counselors, nowhere. It all shut down on me. And it was hard. No daycare, just me and the kids at home, trying to figure out what we were gonna do.
I want to not have to worry about my financial state. I want to have a stable job. I want to continue in education.
Well, so many people during the pandemic have said that the pandemic brought a realization of some of the inequities that exist in our systems and institutions. If you had asked communities of color those very same questions before the pandemic, we would have said those inequities were already there. It's moving forward. What are we going to learn from this? Now that that veil is taken off for others, how are we going to move forward differently?
All the time saying, you can do this, we can do this, even though my heart and my mind was just like, how am I going to do this? They can do it, but how? I don't know how I did it, but I did it, you know. And then, even though up to now, it hasn't been easy, but we're going one day at a time, one day at a time.
Esta pandemia viene y rompió todos los esquemas y sí, nos mantiene pues en un estado de mucha preocupación porque aparte que nos quitó familiares, amistades, trabajo, economía, pues sabemos que la situación no ha terminado.
The purpose of this film is to raise awareness. We exist, we count, we contribute.
Where is the change?
The time for change is now. We can't wait any longer.
La verdad es muy difícil.